Hey guys, it's Lainey, and today is Top 5 Wednesday. Today's Top 5 Wednesday topic is our top 5 books we wish we started earlier. This one is really good for me because as much as I've been reading over, the past several years, I didn't find this community until last year where I was introduced to so many more books and so many more series and books that I'm really kicking myself that I didn't start earlier. So without further ado, let's get started. Coming in at number 5 is Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. This book really speaks to me. It's written pretty perfectly and it really fits with the way I write and things I like to read, this kind of writing style. I saw the movie years ago and I don't know why I never picked up the book that it was with. So I read this last December and I really wish that I would have read it earlier because I love this book. There's so many quotes in this book that I absolutely adore. So I wish I picked up Fight Club earlier than I did. Coming in at number 4 is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I really wish I picked up this book earlier than I did, even though relatively the second book hasn't even been released yet, so I'm fairly early in getting into this series. But however, I've seen this book, I read about this book when it was first publicated. I always was interested in it, but I always said no, I don't want to start it yet because one, I was unsure what kind of target audience it was directed to, and maybe I wasn't in the mood for adult fiction, and maybe I wanted more YA during that time period. And also I felt like because this book is going to be a big series, I felt like it was going to be a very slow start for me, and I didn't want to get invested in a very slow starting book. To be honest, this book definitely does not have a slow start at all, and I'm pissed at myself for not starting it earlier than I wanted to because of that. And I bought it back in February. I wish I would have read it in February versus reading it in June, but of course I'm very glad I read it because this has been my favorite book so far I've read this year. Coming in at number 3 is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I picked this one because I didn't start reading this series until the third one was already released. So I have all 3 of them. I read the first 2 and I really wish I was a part of this series from the beginning because I really enjoyed Shadow and Bone so much, and I know it's probably because it is a fantasy book, and that is one of the main reasons why I never did pick it up as late as I did, because that genre never interested me, especially a few years ago I never would have picked up a fantasy book at all. Coming in at number 2 is Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi. I didn't get into this series until the second book was already released and the third book was about to be released. I read the first 2 in November and the third book came out in January. So, scared me. Considering this is my favorite YA trilogy ever, I really wish I would have gotten into this way before the second book even came out. I actually did see these books all the time in Barnes & Noble, and I don't know why I never did pick it up. Finally in November I did pick it up, so I'm really glad I did. I just wish I would have read them earlier. And coming in at number 1 is none other than The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I've said this plenty of other times. I didn't start reading this series until after the first movie came out. I was like, why have I never picked up this book before? And to be honest, the reason why I never picked up this book was because of the title, because I just didn't know what that meant. The Hunger Games, like, are people starving? That was my first impression, were that people were starving and they couldn't eat or something. I don't know. For some reason that type of story never interested me, so I never picked up the book. And then I saw the trailer and I thought, okay, this is cool, but I don't know why I never picked up the book. Finally, when I picked up the book, then I marathoned the second and the third book, so thankfully I did read the rest of the series before Catching Fire came out in theaters, but I really wish I was part of this fandom way before the movie was even a thought in anybody's mind. So that's why this one's at number 1, because I came into the series very late in the game. And those are my top 5 books I wish I would have read earlier. What are some of your reads that you have read that you wish you would have read earlier? I would love to know. So I hope you guys all have a great Wednesday, and I will see you guys later. Bye!